This deck looks vintage right out of the box despite being released in 2024 by US Games. It was designed by Alexander Gray, Russian illustrator and psychologist, and it looks like it's time travel right from 1800s with its vintage European aesthetics. Welcome back, and if you're new to the channel, I'm Jay and this is Lunacore Tarot, where I bring you weekly tarot and oracle deck reviews to inspire your readings. And today's deck was recommended by you, that's right. One of you suggested to review the old style tarot, and I'm glad I listened. It's excellent production quality, matte cardstock, and really deep cards that are based on RWS, but they have their own dimension. Let's have a look at this interesting deck together. So, old style tarot. Quite a nice box here. Just a bit of information about the card deck, and yes, there is an extra card, that's why I get 79 cards. Produced by US Games, no surprises there. In the box, we got really nice design with a ribbon here to easily pull the guidebook and cards out, and we'll have a look at the guidebook when we'll do a test read. Let's have a look at the cards first. So the deck has this floral pattern with an eye on reverse side. The cards are slightly wider, but it's a standard height. And I think the reason why they are wider is because each card is basically a little piece of artwork. And that's why I think it was an artistic choice to make the cards a little bit wider. The cards themselves are quite, they're not thick. I was going to say thin, but they're not. But they're also not very thick, though the deck feels really heavy in your hand, so it's a decent paper density. It shuffles really well in your hand as well for overhand shuffle, and can be easily refill shuffled as well. I'll show you that a little bit later. See the rounded edges of the cards, and there is no gilding, but to be honest, with this thickness I think it's probably a good thing. And also this is intended to be a working horse, remember that, so that's the reason why I think it's designed to withstand a lot of shuffles, a lot of readings. So it's a bit of a frame within the cards, but you can see the imagery of these bands here, banners here, they spill over, like here for instance as well, just the card completely took over the actual frame, so it's quite nice. And Alexander is not new to the world of tarot. He created 2 Lenormand decks before, and he's had an idea of creating this deck for a long time, since he was a teenager. And it follows RWS very closely, but you will see the imagery sometimes is a bit better explained that you will see in a traditional deck, and maybe also given a bit more detail. So the old style tarot was created using European vintage engravings that were digitally collaged and then hand-colored by Alexander. And this project wasn't spontaneous. He had this idea of creating a deck since he was a teenager. He in fact created a Lenormand deck with the same name. And this deck follows RWS system, but there's a twist. Ray's goal was to create something that was self-explanatory. It's sort of a deck that you can reach out to without reading the guidebooks, by reading it intuitively. And I think he's also simplified the RWS imagery by making it a little bit easier to read, so you can guess, sense, or layer your own interpretation. And it's probably the reason why I included the blank card in this deck, which is referred to as the answer is not known yet, but to me, it offers you your own interpretation. Make it your own guess, make it what you think is going to be. Now let's have a quick look at some of the cards that stood out to me. The Lovers, I think it's a really good reimagined card here. It's obviously some biblical motifs in here, but it's a beautiful take on this scene. You still have a snake in there and an apple, but in this case, the man is offering an apple rather than a snake. It's quite interesting. The Queen of Pentacles, this card been mentioned a few times in forums like Reddit. And to me, this queen symbolizes the Mother Earth in this case. There's a rabbit sitting on her lap, and there's abundance of pears everywhere, so it's very closely to me resembles the Empress card. Really nice take on the 8 of Swords here. You remember that blindfolded person here, this I'm not sure what you call it, a swordsman, represents imaginary fear. That guy doesn't exist, but while his silhouette is imaginary and the sword he's got is real. So while there is no one who's about to attack this lady sitting in the middle of these swords, the pain and anxiety for her is real. I think this psychologist background comes into play here. What do you think of his take on the Seven of Cups? I'm still trying to figure out what's happening here, but I think this is where all these different illusions, and maybe this lady on the left is actually the right feeling, right emotion has been put in a third eye, the enlightenment eye that can allow us to see things that beyond cognitive or maybe logical explanation, and the remaining ones are trying to either help or interfere with this. Very different take, but equally easy to understand and offers you a lot of room for interpretation. Seven of Swords. This is quite interesting. What stood out to me here is this cheeky kid is trying to steal a sword, but then here you've got the fox, and in a Russian folklore, fox represent this cunning animal, this trickster who's always trying to take something of a person, but not stealing it directly, but tricking them into giving it away. It's a very, very interesting take, and it's a bit of a Slavic folklore embedded in the deck. What I liked about the Page of Cups, as you can see here, there is that fish in a cup, very familiar, and water represents an emotion, so intuition, right? And then there's a continuity between these two cards. The King of Cups is actually a sort of an older version of the page. Look at the fish here. Fish is no longer in a cup. The king mastered it. It sits at his feet, and there is no water around anymore. There's this blue sky sort of thing, but the robe that king wears represents the emotions that he mastered through the evolution. If you want to say maybe fool's evolution, or maybe through the minor arcana ascendance to this, and he is no longer the page who doesn't know what to do with the water ahead of him. He hasn't tipped his toes in it yet, comparing to the king who mastered it. And the fish looks much older, but it doesn't matter to the king. He still is in total control of his emotions and intuitions and his feelings. As you can imagine, the deck shuffles really well, despite the cards falling out of my hands every now and then, because they're slightly wider, and also I've got a camera sticking in my face, so it's a little bit harder, that it shuffles really well. And because how thin the cards are, you can also do a riffle shuffle. As you can see, this is not a problem at all. When I ask the deck how it wants to be read, surprise, surprise, I've got a blank card, and to me, this is everything card, right? Because of how the deck was designed, and in my test readings, it came up really well in all of them, except for maybe a couple. And by the way, some of you were interested in seeing how I test my decks and what spread I use. If you would like me to create a video about that, let me know in the comments below. But this deck read really well in relationship insight, in a life path and spiritual work, emotional clarity, manifestation checks. I did a career reading with it, and that worked really well. And coaching, self-reflection, just a really perfect deck. What it didn't really work with is ancestral readings, and shadow work was a little bit flaky, I would say, in the meanings and how it performed there. Let's do a test read together, and you'll get a chance to see how this deck actually reads. In this case, we're going to use a real-world strategy of life cycle coaching spread. It's 3 cards, and they are: what's the key thing I'm trying to manage, what's blocking this smoother flow, and the third card, where can I create a rhythm or a routine. So let's do this reading together. So what is the key thing that I'm trying to manage? Well, I think walking away from stuff that is no longer serving me, trying to find a different solution for the old problem. That is probably the key thing that I'm trying to manage right now. And what's blocking the smoother flow is a lot of stuff is happening. Work outside of work. And this is taking the focus away from being more clear on the priorities and not getting involved with stuff that is not working. That's something that I should shake off and walk away from. Where can I create a rhythm or a routine? The star suggests that I should stay hopeful and focus on the positive side of things and believing in myself and in the universe that things will work out in the right way. And what does the book tells us about this? Promised I'll show you the book, and this is it. It's quite nice. It's got a waxy finish here with a protective coating. Bit of information about the author, story about the deck and how to use it, and some spreads to keep you going. Eight of Cups, upright meaning the card deals with leaving the past behind and realizing that the things used to be important are not anymore. Fear of problems, opinions, relations, an attempt to leave the past behind to find new goals, set out on a journey and unknown but promising future. And card advice, once you make a decision, try not to question it. It's best to focus on the goals you are about to reach by making a decision rather than to regret not going in a different direction. So you can see the structure here. You got the upright, card advice, reverse meaning, and then you got the warning, a quick answer. And see how clear the language here is. Eight of Wands. There is an unquestionable movement toward your goal, unstoppable sequence of events for the very near future, active phase of a process, unexpected events, life-changing surprises, well-timed arrival, necessity to make a quick decision, and upcoming trips. Card advice, be prepared to get important news in upcoming days, which will be filled with activities and events. Quite interesting. I'll probably just say there's a lot of stuff happening related to passions and projects, but I think this is more clear and give you a few options here. And the card advice, followed by the reverse meaning, the warning, and quick answer. Yes, everything will happen very fast. And finally, the star. Where can I create rhythm or routine? The star foretells a bright future, wishes coming true and being protected by the higher forces. The goals that were set are the right ones. A good chance, a bright event, new opportunities, and all ways of applying them. Creativity, recognizing talent, reward for your work, feeling on top of the world about your dreams and future prospects. And card advice is believe in yourself and your direction, pursue your goal, and you will reach it as you've been led from above. Quite very similar to RWS, but also you can see this deck reads very positive. Now, you're probably asking yourself a question, who is the Old Style Tarot for? And my answer is to everyone. It's probably one of those all-rounded decks that I came across in a while. It'll work for beginners, because it's based on RWS imagery and it's quite easy to read it intuitively. You kind of get what's going on if you look at the card. And it comes with a really decent guidebook, so there's a little help there. If you are a seasoned RWS reader, this will be a really good addition to your collection, and not just a collection, to the rotation of your working decks. Yes, because Alexander is a psychologist, he added that multi-layer symbolism. So it's not just the imagery that is different, but also every card has a hidden meaning that wasn't there before. For instance, if I look at the King of Cups, it only hit me when I was preparing this video that he's wearing the blue robe and there's no water anywhere on the card. It's because the King of Cups embodied the intuitive and emotional energy, and he's basically mastered it. And this is only a couple of things that I discovered when I started working with the deck, and I'm wondering how many of those are there. So I would say that you are in for some great discoveries with this deck. One thing to mention, nothing is perfect, and I think the design of this deck, because it's based on old style European aesthetics, is not very inclusive. So something to keep in mind if you decide to buy this deck. Final verdict time. I'm giving this deck 4 paws on the cat meter, and I was considering 4.5, but decided 4 is the right call. Here's why. The build quality of this deck, the cardstock, the guidebook, the box that it comes with, I think is excellent. It reads really well. It's nothing to fail it on. The design is quite unique, and also I think there's a lot of energy went into creating this deck. Now I think a couple of drawbacks of this deck is it can look a little bit bland. I think the imagery in it doesn't pop. Another thing I would mention as well, that it's not really modern deck, and yes, it's by design, but it may be a drawback for some. But I think as a working horse, this is an excellent deck. If you decide to get one of these, I'm sure you're gonna grow with it as the deck will grow on you. So this is my take on the Old Style Tarot by Alexander Waite. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like this deck? Do you hate it? Do you have one in your collection? What do you think of it? I would love to know. And this is it for today. If you got something out of it, feel free to subscribe. And if you'd like to support what I do, you can buy me a coffee or maybe click on the affiliate link. You'll find everything you need in the description. Enjoy the flip through, and I will see you in the next one.